Hello, everyone. So, I hope everyone's having a good day. Tomorrow's the 4th of July, so happy 4th of July. Um, Today I wanted to do a video on how active you should be out of the back with your left arm. So, this video will cover what to do with your left arm, the different what things to do with your left arm, different theories of what to do with the left arm, the pros and cons of each theory. And yeah, so there are three theories. So the first one I'm going to cover is not shown in either of these videos. Um, because I don't think this software can do three videos at the same time on the same screen. And I'm a big dum dum and I don't know anything about technology. So I'll just say it. So the first theory is keeping the left arm inside the left knee, like Tripp does here, or he keeps it in line. Um, but the third theory is basically if you look at like what Gerd Cantor does, basically, where like so Cantor would keep it inside his left knee, and then once his left knee stopped, the left arm kept going. So it's like a hybrid between these two. All right, so the pros and cons of that, and I'm sorry I can't really show that in this video, but just watch Gerd Cantor and you'll see what I mean. He's a prime example of that. The pros and cons of that is that you won't rush out the back, but you still get the good rotation and the ease of rotation from back to middle, and you don't feel super constricted. So it's basically like pros with very little cons. So it's by far the safest way to go. But that's also not ideal for everyone because some people rely on a lot more speed out the back, and some people need that control out the back. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get into these two. So on the left, we got Zane Weir. On the right, we got Tripp Pippery. Both really good throwers. Zane is better in terms of just distance and accolades. But yeah, Tripp's a very good. I think he's a one-time, two-time NCAA champion. Has a PR like 2172, I think, something like that, like 2170 something. So very good thrower. Still young. Has been hampered, as you can see here, by ankle injury. So that's sad to see, but hopefully he can get his health back on track. And I really like what he's been doing with his new coach, and yeah, so he looks a lot better. I forget when this particular video is taken. This is Zane's PR, so this is Zane Weir's 2244. So, and then this is a training throw, so I know it's not like the fairest comparison, but it's the only videos I could find with them at the same angle, and really good quality. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So this might not be like the best throw from Tripp, but I guess technically this is the best throw from Zane. But so just keep that in mind for the video. But we're not analyzing how great they are and what that. So we're just analyzing what to do out the back with your left arm. And I'm gonna speak in terms of a right-handed thrower. So if you're a left-handed thrower, just opposite. So it would be your right arm out the back. So the biggest things are what to do with the left arm out the back. All right. So there's a couple things that I believe in that are pretty universally agreed on. I'm pretty sure in all my research and all that is that you want level shoulders out the back. You don't want to dip, and you don't want to dip that shoulder, and you don't want to go super up with the shoulder. All right. And why I say the shoulder and not the arm is because you can move your shoulder. You can move your arm and not move your shoulder. So like Zane here. So Zane, his arm kind of goes slightly up, and Tripp goes slightly down. But you notice that their shoulders are flat. So their shoulders are square. And even though they look completely different out the back, their shoulders are doing the same thing. So that's the most important thing to get out of this, is you want those level shoulders out the back. You don't want to be dipping up and down. All right. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is, as long as you're doing that, it doesn't really matter what you do with your left arm, because that's really the most important thing. Because these two obviously throw far. Ryan Whiting, I think, is one of the far throwers that does this kind of style. In fact, he keeps his arm in a lot more. But I couldn't find a really good quality video of him throwing at this angle, so I just picked Tripp because he's the only other shot putter I could think of that kind of does this. So yeah, so if you want a more extreme example of the second theory, just research Ryan Whiting. Actually, I've done a video on Ryan Whiting too, so you can check that out too as well, and I talk at length about that. So right off the bat, I have a clear bias. I prefer this style of letting the left arm open and actually using it out the back. I really don't like this style. I think it's very outdated. But there are some pros and cons to both. I think there are more pros and really only one or two cons about this throw. And I think there's a lot more cons than pros in this technique. But there's one or two very, very good pros. So let's get into the theories, all right, and the pros and cons of each. So let's start with this one because it'll take the shortest time. This is basically not using your left arm at all and actually keeping it inside. So not using it to help you, so it doesn't ever get past his left knee. All right, so he always keeps it in line, and even here he doesn't let it pass his left knee really at all. Alright, so he keeps his left arm in. So, let's talk about the positives. One, it prevents you from ripping out the back. And what I mean by that is getting disconnected out of the back and rushing the back of the ring so that you get out of position and you throw all crazy. So, it does prevent that, so it's a control factor. So, what that will do is it will build really consistent throws out the back of the ring. And it also will allow you to hold your chest more out the back. And it'll be a lot simpler. And then you'll be able to catch it more consistently deeper. So it will just provide a lot more consistency. However, so those are the pros, which are very big pros. However, I personally don't like it at all. Okay, well, I shouldn't say at all. If you're having trouble ripping out the back and just going too fast out the back, just try this kind of style, and if it helps you, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have one throw far out of 100, so that doesn't really do anything. So yeah, so if you have really bad problems with consistency, maybe try this. Maybe this is the problem. So try this style. However, I don't think it's conducive to throwing really, really far into your max potential, and here's why. Because I fully believe and I am of the principle that the throw is a whole body thing. So if you just shut down your left arm and you don't really use it, and you actually use it, you actually refuse to let the body do what it would naturally do, which is use the left arm. I believe that that's a bad thing. I think the throw is a whole body sport, and when you throw your left arm, I shouldn't say that. When you use your left arm out the back correctly, it will help you turn smoother, faster, better out the back and provide a lot more energy, and it will just make everything easier to do. However, there's a caveat. I say correctly. So don't just throw your left arm as fast as you can, because you still have to be connected with the legs. All right? But I personally think this is a very, very awkward throw. And what it does not let you do is be super rotational. So he's a super linear thrower. So what that means is he doesn't get a lot of angular momentum because he doesn't allow that left arm to get super wide and actually get ahead of his left leg. So he just kind of just turns and just goes. And what that does is, yeah, he gets super big linear drive, which is really good. But if you notice right here, he does not have that great finish that a lot of people want. So his left his right foot is pointed that way. Because he didn't have that rotational energy, he lands really early and really blocked off. And when you're here and you don't allow this left arm to open, it's really hard to keep turning. All right, it's really hard to keep turning. It's really hard to actually turn and use your legs, because it just cuts off a lot of your energy and a lot of power, and it just makes you super constricted and compact. So if you notice, so he's here, and this would be a fantastic catch position if the right foot was pointed that way. But you notice his hip is behind him. The shot, yeah, it's far back, but his hip isn't in a good place. So if his upper body caught here, but his hips were facing that way, and his foot was facing that way, this would be an amazing catch position. All right, and then if you look here, he never actually rotates. He really doesn't work the ground. So he's on the inside of his foot. So he's not actually on the ball of the foot, and he's not really pushing against the ground. He has like a glide finish, honestly, where he doesn't really rotate because he can't, because he didn't develop that rotational energy to help him turn. All right, so I think that's the biggest con about this, is that it will make you super fast doing this kind of style. It'll make you really consistent, but I don't think it will ever produce your full potential throw. I think Tripp and Ryan Whiting could have thrown way further than what they do or did. So, and yeah, so, but then again, they could have tried this style, and it just didn't work. They just couldn't do it. And, you know, some people are like that, so maybe they just have to throw like that. I just personally don't like it. But if you have to do what you got to do, then, you know, do it. So that's the first theory right here, all right? I know I said second theory early in the video, but I started on this. So it's the first theory. So the first theory is not letting the left arm pass the left knee. So keeping it in line or a little bit in. So the second theory is what I think is the best one and what most shot putters do nowadays. This is a very like 2010s, like once Ryan Whiting started getting popular, a lot of people started doing this type of style. And it was kind of a dark age in throwing for a while until Kovacs came along. So, yeah, that was a very like 2000, that was a fad that I'm glad has gone away. So now you see everyone, basically everyone on the circuit nowadays do what Zane Wheeler does, or some version of it, and not hold the left arm in. So what he's doing, so he winds, he's turning the left leg really aggressively, but right here, he's letting that left arm pass him. And if you notice, so he's here, so he's turned all the way, the left arm, so the shoulders are open right here. The shoulders are square, the hips are square. So really, really nice position here. All right. So the one thing that you can't do if you do this technique is not stop the left arm. So you have to stop the left arm, because you do have to hold the chest, or else you just kind of spin and you lose the linear direction. So this is a lot harder of a technique, but I think if you do it correctly, it makes it easier to throw, and it produces further throws, because it combines the linear energy and the rotational energy of the throw. All right, so he stops his left arm here. All right, so he stops and goes. All right, so if you watch this full speed, you see how he kind of just throws this left arm? Let me back that up just a little. See how he just throws that left arm but then stops it right there? So when he throws, he catches super here. And yes, I know that his right leg is facing the same way, but because he had that rotational energy, his hips and his feet are facing the actual throw, whereas Tripp here, that's a little further, the shot's out of his hand there. So again, Zane also doesn't have like the greatest rotational finish. I just did a video on Fabry, who in my opinion does this a little better, but I just wanted to use a different thrower because I just did a video. But we're not also here to talk about the right foot, but he turns his hip a lot better. If you notice, so he's here. So one thing that's different is that even though his right foot is facing that way, his hips are that way. All right, and that's really the more important thing, is that his hips are facing 90 instead of facing the back of the ring. So that's the more important thing. All right. So once again, like with Tripp, his hips are facing basically that way, while Zayn's are facing this way. Sorry, Tripp's facing that way. Zayn's facing that way. All right, so it's a much better position to be in. All right, so he gets a lot more rotational on the throw, which is why he's here and gets super long and gets that rotational. Or here, the shot's out of his neck here, and he's throwing that way. All right, where Zayn keeps it in his neck there and throws fully square to the ring. Square to the sector. So that's why I think throwing the left arm out the back is good. Now, once again, the caveat, you got to stop the left arm once it gets to here. All right, and you got to sprint. So it's harder to time, and it's a lot harder to be consistent, but it's not impossible. Ryan Krauser, the perfect example of this. He does this. Kovacs does this. Tom Walsh does it. Everyone. Fabry does this too. Like almost anybody right now that throws really far does this. I think Otterdahl does this too. It's just a very consistent thing. But if you notice, so once again, so he's here, he's fully open, and then he stops the left arm and lets the right leg pass, and then goes. All right. So that's the thing. That's what saves, because if he just kept the left arm moving and never stopped, he would land like this. So he would land open instead of here. So imagine if his left foot touched down when he's here, and he couldn't really crank on the shot put. All right. Instead he catches here. All right. So, and again, Zayn may not be the best to do in the front, but like the best technical model in the front of the ring, but out the back, it's a lot better in my opinion, which is why I think he throws almost a meter further than Tripp. So, because Zayn is weaker and smaller than Tripp as well, and so, it's just that he can just produce so much more energy out the back of the ring than Tripp. So, yeah. So there are pros and cons. So the pros are, for this style is, it makes it easier to turn out the back. It makes the throw a lot more fluid and a lot more rotational and linear. The cons is it's a little harder to do. It's harder to be consistent with it. It's harder to produce linear energy if you mistime it. The back of the ring with your chest and your legs. So those are the cons. But, if you have a competent coach and you actually work hard on it, it's not that hard to do, honestly. So it's just a lot harder to do than this, because this style forces you to do those things, except it doesn't make you rotational really at all. Well, obviously, somewhat, because, he's still spinning around, so obviously he's still rotating, but not to the same extent. Like, he's not building the same energy that Zayn is. So, yeah. So, I hope this clears up a lot of stuff, because I know I get that question quite a bit. So, yeah, I hope you guys really enjoy this video. Let me know if you have any questions or other technical videos you want me to do, and see y'all next time. Thanks for watching.